Hello everybody, Jonathan Poley here with West Coast Weather. Today is November 11th, and currently we're looking at the visible satellite imagery of the Northeast Pacific Ocean. Hawaii is down here, the west coast of the United States is right down here. And currently there is a complex, a conglomerate of low pressure systems off the coast right now. There's the one main one that's coming down out of the Gulf of Alaska, bringing some cold air down from Alaska. And then that's going to be merging with a couple of this one low pressure system that's bringing up some subtropical moisture out of the tropics down there between Hawaii and California. These are going to combine and form into a storm system that's going to ride into the west coast later on Thursday. Models are in a bit of a disagreement on exactly what's going to happen with it. It may bring some locally strong winds to parts of Oregon, but we'll go over that with all the models here in a bit. And then we're going to take a look at the fantasy forecast and the extended forecast all the way out to Thanksgiving week, just to see what models might be hinting at that. So wait until the end of the video for that. So let's get right into things, shall we? Looking at the European model, this is this morning's run. This is looking at the troughs and ridges way up in the atmosphere, kind of a good starting point to see where our storm systems are coming from. High pressure is in the oranges, and then the blues and purples are low pressure. So if we play this out, this is about right now. You can see we got this low pressure system down to the south, and then this other one coming in out of the Gulf of Alaska. These are going to merge out off the coast later today, and then kind of split off into a couple different lows. There's going to be another trough that goes down in the British Columbia. It's going to kind of drag this northern low up into Oregon. That's going to be our main system, and then it kind of brings and cuts off this low off of Southern California, which will likely bring some precipitation to parts of Southern and Central California as well. Then everything starts to kind of move east away from the Pacific Northwest as we go into later on Friday in the Saturday. You can see the time and date up here in the top left of the corner. Sorry, I can't really enlarge it any more than I can, but it's better than nothing. So as we go into Sunday, another system is going to dive down out of the Gulf of Alaska, going to be bringing a frontal system through on Sunday, bringing some blustery conditions to parts of the Pacific Northwest and some more rain and mountain snows as well. That kind of moves through. And then we get a bit of a ridge, maybe early next week around the Monday, the Tuesday, maybe like Tuesday into Wednesday. And then the European model brings a windstorm in next week. So models are really all over the place going in the next week. So this is kind of just fantasy already at this point, but we'll continue to look at that as we get closer to that. But it's November, and there's always potential for storms every single week. So now let's look at the European model on the left. This is this morning's run that we just looked at. And here's the GFS, the American model on the right. So this is looking at sea level pressure and comparing both the models. So blues are below normal pressure and the oranges are above normal pressure at the surface. So you can see our low develops off the coast, kind of combines together. However, models already start disagreeing only like 40 hours in. So that what the European model on the left does kind of keeps the lows kind of consolidated and brings this one main low weakening into Western Oregon and Washington. This would bring a little bit of blustery conditions to parts of the Oregon coastline, maybe isolated damaging winds right along the Cape Blanco region of the Oregon coast. Then that moves in, brings some gusty winds to parts of the eastern area as well. Meanwhile, the GFS has a much stronger low, but it just kind of sits off the coast and dies and doesn't really do anything. It just drifts off the California coastline. Really doesn't bring much impact more than some rain over some of the area as well. Then as we go through the weekend in the Sunday, look, you can see our next system. The earlier differences in the models are showing up as well. The GFS has a weaker system farther south. Actually develops another low pressure system off the coast on Sunday. However, the European model has been a lot more consistent the last couple of days, so I'm going to tend to lean towards the European model solution. It brings a little low pressure system into the area on Sunday, bringing a cold front through the area. That would bring some blustery winds to parts of the area and some rain as well. And then both models at least agree that the system should kick off by out of the area by Monday or Tuesday of next week. So now looking at 10-meter wind gusts, Let's play this through. You can see our as the pressure gradient starts setting up as the low pressure develops upshore, winds start to increase along some of the California and Oregon coastlines on Wednesday afternoon, kind of remaining calm over Washington. Then that low pressure system develops, and look at that, you're starting to get some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds along the Cape Blanco area on Thursday morning. Then that low drifts off, bringing some gusty winds to the rest of the Oregon coast and some blustery winds to parts of the Willamette Valley. Eventually, some breezy westerlies to parts of the southern Puget Sound, central Puget Sound, and maybe Whidbey Island and the San Juans as well, with a little bit of a westerly surge going down the strait. You can see eastern Washington and Oregon also getting blustery as that system moves east late Thursday into early on Friday. A reminder that the time and date are up here. And then as we go through, let's look at what it shows on Sunday. You can see that low pressure system in the front. Pretty clear on this wind gust map. You can see those westerly winds coming down behind the cold front, bringing that colder air down from the north. And then as that moves through on Sunday, or very early Sunday in the rest of Sunday morning, maybe some gusts up towards 35 to 45 miles per hour for parts of Whidbey Island, the San Juans up towards Bellingham, and then maybe a bit of a westerly surge Sunday afternoon around noonish on for parts of Whidbey Island and along the Stray Juan, the Fuga, mainly only gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour if that happens. So then we play this through. Then we calm down as we go through the week as that little bit of a ridge picks up. And then just for fantasy, let's look at that windstorm that the European model shows late next week for Wednesday and the Thursday. Look at this. It develops this low pressure system that plows right into the region, brings some gusts over 80 miles per hour, the parts of the Washington coastline, well over 50 for parts of the Puget Sound, up towards over 60 for parts of Whidbey Island, that westerly surge as well. So that would be pretty interesting if that happens, but that's way off in like 8 days from now. So we got plenty of time to see if the models keep that up or just completely get rid of it. Now looking at a 3-hour precipitation type on the European model. This is a 3-hour increments every time I press this. This is looking at it's blues are in snows, blue is snow, and the green is rain. So you can see some showers maybe over parts of Washington and extreme northwest Oregon early Wednesday morning. Some showers for parts of western Washington and southwest BC. Some heavier rain up there closer to Vancouver Island and Vancouver, BC as well, going through Wednesday afternoon. And as we go into Wednesday evening, you see the low pressure system down there, bringing a pretty decent frontal system through California down there. That's going to bring precipitation all the way down to Los Angeles by later on Thursday and the Friday morning. So good to get some precipitation down there as well. You can see precipitation is going to be mostly scattered in nature, except for maybe Vancouver Island, parts of southwest BC. So it's going to be hard to pick up on rain totals and exact timings and such. So just general, it's going to be general on and off rain from basically later to Wednesday all the way through Friday morning, and maybe some odd showers continuing all the way through Friday. Then a bit more precipitation moves in, especially for the mountains in the coastal areas late Friday night and the Saturday morning, as kind of this weird, weak, transient low pressure system moves through. And as we go into Saturday, we kind of mostly dry off on Saturday. Notice it's only the precipitation is only in the mountains, and usually these post-frontal days after a low pressure has moved through, there's not usually a ton of precipitation around, especially with these weaker systems. Then you can see that next little weak low pressure system moving through on Sunday with that cold front bringing some precipitation, likely a convergence zone that will probably set up if this happens like this model shows later Sunday afternoon in the evening. Let's check to see if there's any lightning potential with that as well, because the convergence zones can sometimes have that. The European model doesn't really show anything, maybe some lightning way off the coast, but really not much. So going back to the precipitation, you see that moves through. Give me some snows in the mountains. Snoqualmie Pass area may get additional snowfall as that convergence zone moves into the mountains. So that might be interesting during the day or on Sunday evening and overnight. So now let's total precipitation through Sunday afternoon. You can see a decent bit of precipitation, especially for California. You're starting to approach 1 to 2 inches of rain along most of the coastlines of California, maybe even approaching a few inches for the parts of the mountains down there and down near LA, also for the Sierra Nevada, maybe even Los Angeles getting in on an inch or two of rainfall. Very healthy precipitation amounts down there. You can see Oregon Washington a bit lighter. Still some of the mountains approaching 2 to 3 inches, especially for the North Cascades and Southwest British Columbia. Maybe up towards around a half an inch for Seattle and for Portland as well. These precipitation amounts, this is just kind of a general idea of things. Because of the scattered nature of the precipitation, it's going to take a little bit, it's going to be a little bit harder to pinpoint exact precipitation amounts through the rest of this week and into the weekend. But this gives us a good general idea of things. You can see the rain show up there along the stray one, the Fuca, and parts of Whidbey as well. But parts of Whidbey might approach a half an inch through over the next 5 days or so. Looking at total snow over the West Coast, you can see not a ton amount of snows. This is probably underdoing things a little bit, especially if that convergence zone develops over the Snoqualmie area. But you can see even the Sierra Nevada is starting to get in on the snow. Mainly Southwest BC really getting in on that action as well. So, but we're still early in the season. Hopefully we can start getting some big mountain snows before December rolls around, so all the skiers can be happy. So now let's take a look at the fantasy forecast. Let me play this back. So this is basically this weekend. You can see that once this is looking at North America right now. Washington, Oregon, California are down there, just to make sure you guys have your eyes following the right spot. So as we play this through, this is this weekend, that system that moves on Sunday with the mountain snow, blustery winds and stuff. We kind of get dry out a bit. Then we look to get another system, which the European model is actually having a windstorm with that on Wednesday, Thursday, but I doubt that's going to happen, but it's going to be something we need to watch. There's going to be at least some sort of system moving through Wednesday and Thursday. This is the European ensemble system, so it basically takes 50 different European models that are all slightly varied. Basically, it gives us a good average of all the different solutions, which gives us a good general idea of what the pattern is going to be like in the extended range. So it's better to look at something like this for when you're going past like 8 days into the forecast, so we can at least get the general idea of what's going to happen. And this can be pretty reliable, pretty far out. And you can see there's really good agreement. Notice the strong colors. That shows you that a lot of the models are agreeing with each other. And that's a good sign to see so far out. You can see we look to be remain a little bit active with some low pressure systems moving out of the Gulf of Alaska, maybe northern, up near the northern territories of Canada as we go through later next week. And then going into that weekend and maybe the week of Thanksgiving. Look at this. This is starting to look like a pretty chillier setup. You get a ridge of high pressure over Alaska that brings that cold air down from Siberia and the Arctic and brings it right down over the western United States and western Canada. And then you get this other high pressure system. This is called high latitude blocking. It's basically these high pressure systems block the flow up in the polar regions, and that helps push colder air down towards the equator. And that's exactly what happened. We get this kind of dip in the jet stream over the western North America area, and that brings some colder air down. So models are starting to hint at this. Most major models are showing this around the weekend before Thanksgiving and the Thanksgiving week. We may have our first freeze around the area, but this is just an early look at things. This obviously can change. This is about 10 to 14 days out, but models are agreeing pretty good for how far this is out. So we'll just continue to look at this as we go. So that'll do it for this video. I hope everybody enjoyed this and found this informative. Please just hit the like button, subscribe buttons down below. It helps the channel out and tells YouTube that people like to watch these videos. And I just really, I also really appreciate it as well. So I'll talk to everybody in the next video. Take care and God bless.